Welcome to the Trader, a Traitors podcast. I'm Matthew. I'm a writer working in unscripted TV development, and this podcast recaps and analyses every episode of The Traitors, not just here in the UK, but around the world. This series of the podcast is dedicated to the Traitors UK Series 4. We've been recapping the main events, analysing the strategy, the gameplay, and discussing all of your thoughts and observations, as well as sometimes telling a little lie or two along the way. I've been joined by a different co-host every episode of the pod, and joining me today is kind of a different co-host, but someone that you probably won't be that surprised to see and hear from. Let's find out who it is. David, who would have thought you're back with us? It's almost like I mentioned it already on the podcast saying that you would come back. How are you?
Okay. What do you mean by different? I'm a different co-host.
You're emotionally different. You've grown since last time.
Yes.
We're always evolving, David. That's what I meant in a sort of figurative way. Of course, you are what we're going to talk about Traitors UK today, but you have been watching the new Traitors US.
Yes.
First 3 episodes are out. You have been taking the podcast on for me. Thank you very much. Without spoilers, is there anything can you give us your impression of the first few episodes of Traitors US right now?
Without spoilers, no, probably not.
Is it a thumbs up? Is it a thumbs down? Is it a medium?
I'm going to go with a thumbs sideways because
Okay,
that doesn't
okay.
give anything away, and we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I mean, they have some of the same twists, but done differently as, compared to the UK. But we, of course, don't want to spoil that for anyone who only watches UK and hasn't watched US yet, or vice versa. So we will talk about that in a special podcast where we compare and contrast the way they have handled, for example, the Secret Traitor.
Yes. And if you're following the podcast on social media, you'll have seen the little video I posted yesterday asking for questions. So yeah, I think anyone who is watching both US and UK, if you're watching just one, but you don't care about spoilers, I guess might want to send a question anyway.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, questions about the differences between the 2 seasons, the connections between them? We know that they film them back to back, so usually the missions sort of overlap, and people do often ask questions. We've already had some questions on this season of the pod about the connections between the two. So yeah, we're going to take a whole episode just to talk about the similarities, the differences, what you guys have noticed about the 2 seasons. So if you have thoughts and questions, send them our way. We are going to be talking about episode 6 of Traitors UK Series 4 today. Before we get into it, I am going to initiate our podcast game, The Trader Traitor. As always, we are putting Traitors viewers' claims that they could easily spot lies and deceptions to the test by playing our own game of secrecy and betrayal here on the podcast. The challenge for David and I for the remainder of this episode is to tell a lie to one another, and to you listeners, sorry. The lie has to be a fabrication, a made-up fact. Big, small, about traitors, about anything we feel like. For example, I could lie and say that this episode outcome was not spoiled to me by my 15-year-old niece, when in fact the truth is it kind of was spoiled to me by my 15-year-old niece. I didn't know 15-year-olds were watching The Traitors, and that when she sent me an Instagram picture I was going to open it up with some text telling me what happened. I mean, I'm quite glad she's watching, but hey.
Yeah.
However, I couldn't lie and say that I don't like Instagram anymore, and it's my least favorite social media platform. But actually, it's good fun, and I quite like using it.
In
So that
fact,
would be a fake.
I believe you lose it. You lose
yeah.
Instagram. Yes.
If you're following my Instagram stories, I made a silly typo and then corrected it. I'm not going live on Instagram. I would like to go live on Instagram. So we are not looking for fake opinions and thoughts. We're looking for outright lies, fake facts. And listeners, you can put your skills to the test, see if anything lights up your radar before David and I play Traitor Hunter. In the listener Q&A episode, right after this, we're going to reveal our lies, guess what the other person deceived us about. David, are you ready to go again and try and trick me?
I suppose last time I did a poor job. I thought I had done a good job, and you just bam went right on it. So
Yeah, I've been getting practice.
yeah,
I'll give it my best shot as well. Our game begins now, and
and
we
that
are going to dive. Oh, yes, yes.
I totally forgot that we were playing the game, by the way. So this will be even more interesting this time. That was a carefully crafted lie last time, and it sucked. So well, I thought the lie was good. You were good too. So
Is
I'll have
that the
to.
lie that David has not crafted a lie and that he has
Mm.
plotted it very carefully?
That's kind of
We'll
that's
see.
kind of a circular lie if it is, It's like, wait, but if you have crafted a lie, then it's not a lie. It is a lie, but yeah, you'll just have to
Yeah.
figure that out by the end. You'll have to go in
Uh,
circles for a little
oh,
while,
you've
and
baffled me already. Oh, I'm too confused. I can't possibly play. Here we go. We're going
good.
to get into episode 6 of the Traitors UK Series 4. So before I recap the previous episode, David, there's something that you've mentioned before in the pod, and one of our listeners has taken advice from, and they got in touch to let us know that had we listened to you, we might have been a bit more wary of the secret traitor.
Yes. I want to give props to Maria Fraser, who had posted a comment on one of my videos, and we talked about it on the episode 3 Q&A podcast. She had noted that I, of course, have a general rule that players who pretend to not understand the game are almost always the bad guy, in my experience. Whether it's Mafia or Werewolf or the Traitors, whatever. And yeah, I should have listened to my own thought process
Yeah.
because yes, that pointed directly to Fiona as the secret traitor for that reason. So props to Maria for pointing that out.
Yeah.
And I should have listened to myself.
Yeah. Someone else, another listener, had also messaged me saying, hey, if we listen to David's advice, Fiona's the secret traitor, but I don't think it is her. So whoever that was, they also discounted it, and they should have paid attention. They should have just stuck with the
Well, we
obvious.
should have paid. I should have paid attention to my own
Yeah.
advice. Um, but yeah, and I also know this is a little bit more than that that you discussed in the episode 5 podcast all these different things. But I just want to emphasize, I was kicking myself. I'm like, why couldn't I be on the episode 5 podcast? Because these people played so poorly. I mean, and it wasn't just one; it was a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Reese just did a terrible job of explaining what happened at the cages and made himself
Yeah.
look suspicious.
Yeah.
Fiona lost her damn mind. Um, uh, Amanda, the detective who knows body language, was wrong on everything she said and a poor strategist. I mean, like everything, not only the people she suspected, but the person she chose to confide in the most. And
Yeah.
then she could have saved herself at the round table. We talk about this all the time by simply voting Reese at the start instead of stubbornly sticking with Jade and wasting her vote. And then on top of it, what she said at the round table, even if she had survived, even if Reese had randomly gone, she set herself up to be murdered by saying, if I'm murdered, look at Jade. Okay, thanks for setting up the frame job on,
Yeah.
so of course they would have murdered her that night. So, oh my gosh, it was just such bad gameplay all around. And I'm like screaming into the void while watching it.
Yes, agreed. And what's so funny? I mean, I know we have a bit of an advantage, but we'll talk about it in this episode. Is how much credence or power the remaining players are now giving Amanda. They're like,
Oh
oh,
God.
we must
Yes.
pay attention to everything Amanda told us. So I've got thoughts on that to come as well. But yes, agree with all of your points, David. And Eliana, my co-host, we agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Few other things that we might need to remember from last time. Of course, Maz was murdered face to face. That seemed to shed even more suspicion on Stephen because they've decided there must have been a traitor in one of the cages and they're accidentally right. And the mission meant that 6 potential people would face murder this night. After this double tie at round table, we saw, only for the second time in the UK, the chest of chance. And, yep, it saved Reese, sent Amanda home. However, the biggest moment came in the last 8 minutes or so of the episode when Rachel decides to reveal what Amanda had shared with her privately, that she was a former police detective, resulting in Fiona deciding she didn't believe it and calling out Rachel as a traitor in front of everyone. The memes, the social media buzz, the viewing figures for these 2 episodes through the roof here in the UK. It's all everybody's talking about. I was even on the train today, and I've overheard people talking about traitors in public sometimes, and it's quite funny to hear. Oh, hey, people are talking about the traitors. This is cool. Someone on the train was watching the episode we're talking about on their phone, which I was also about to do on my phone on the way home, but I had a moment of thinking, like, oh, I should tap them and say, do you want to watch together? But that would be very creepy and weird. But
little watch party. Hey, can I see?
yeah. So it's everybody's talking about what's going on here. One of the listeners sent me a message saying, "Is this the best episode ever?" Maybe it is. For this episode, we begin in the turret, and it's the continuing face-off between Rachel and Fiona. It's incredibly awkward and tense. Neither of them seems to want to speak first, so Stephen has to ask, are we going to discuss the obvious? And they both just double down on what's happened. Fiona claims that Rachel is playing a game for herself. She reiterates that, I mean, apart from the Amanda thing, she says, well, also every time Stephen's name has come up around the castle, you don't ever defend him. And Rachel says, well, that's not true. I just haven't been incredibly obvious about it. I can't make it really clear, which I understand. She says, I subtly defend him, or I say things like, oh yeah, maybe I'll look at Stephen. She can't say, no, he's not a traitor. How do you know? So she's playing it cool. And she even says, just because you haven't heard me defending Stephen doesn't mean I'm not doing it. They go at it. They're accusing one another of playing a solo game. My perception is, from what I've seen, I reckon that Fiona and Rachel, it kind of is just a clash of personalities, and I feel like Fiona has just never been on board with Rachel from the moment she joined them. I feel like she just always has, for whatever reason, maybe it's just a personality thing, has just never wanted to accept that Rachel and her are a team and they're going to make it to the end. I feel like they just have always, particularly in Fiona's part, she just has never really wanted to be in a partnership with Rachel and has possibly gone looking for an excuse to prove herself right.
I don't know if it's that she didn't want to or she just automatically suspects her and trusts Stephen so well. She gets along with Stephen so well, which we've seen. And, he's just sitting there watching these two go back and forth like, and I think she just assumes the worst, which admittedly on the Traitors, that usually the best thing to do is to assume the worst. But there were just so many different ways she could have handled this. And every single one of those different ways was better than how she handled it. Like I don't even understand. I mean, she lost her damn mind is what, I don't understand. I mean, I do understand, I guess, that she just saw this as, she's using this to turn people, but that's not what happened. She didn't say, Amanda trusted me, therefore you should go after Fiona. She took it as a personal attack. It is serious main character energy, for one thing.
Yeah.
We keep hearing her repeat, well, Amanda knows that half of my family are coppers, so she would have told me. Why would you assume that? Why would you assume? Because you're viewing yourself as the main character here. And,
Yeah.
you're not always the main character. But I think part of it was she got the secret red cloak and she was operating alone and she had this power. I think it all went to her head.
Yeah, I think that has definitely played into the dynamic between them. And Rachel even tries to explain to Fiona, no, here's why what I said to everybody could have helped us. It could have, because they would have believed, oh, Amanda's a detective, oh my goodness. The reason I told everybody is because I thought it would direct attention to Jade and Sam, the two people that
Mm-hmm.
Amanda had at the top of her list. But I think Fiona just didn't get that or didn't want to. She won't budge.
She won't
She's
listen at all.
again,
Yeah.
she's doubling down. It's just a bit of a nightmare. Stephen's caught in the middle, and he even says, I think to us, in his confessional, his mouth, he says, "I thought we were going to be best pals till the end," and he even says to them in the turret, "I thought you two had planned it. Like I thought it was a
Yeah, it
skit.
was.
I thought you had. It was so ridiculous. I thought later you were going to tell me, haha, we planned it all." So he just can't believe what's going on, and despite being, it becomes obvious in this episode if we hadn't already realized he's so close to Fiona.
Mhm.
He says to her, "I'll be honest, you had nothing on you. Now your name is on everybody's list
Yeah.
or lips or whatever he says." So yeah, like, and I think at that moment she maybe goes, she just sort of looks at him like, "Oh, okay." Like, she doesn't say
I
anything.
still
She
don't
doesn't
think she
admit.
realizes it though, because I mean, it would be hard to pull it back at this point, but she could have gotten there the next day and said, I've slept on it and I was just overreacting and I, was really upset that Amanda was gone and
Yeah,
and I thought that we were friends. And then for her to say that she could have rolled it back somewhat. Would
yeah,
it have succeeded? I don't know, but obviously continuing didn't work. Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, the thing is, there was one little thing, one little piece of heat that Fiona had that nobody was mentioning at the time, which was Stephen, brought up here that Fiona was on the list, the Library
mm.
Five, as they eventually come to call it,
Yes, yeah,
and so. Oh no, wait, sorry, not that list. I confused my lists. She was on the short list or the whatever list
oh,
they have of the people that they could murder this
right,
time.
right,
She's
right,
on a
yeah.
lot of lists. But yeah, and then she says, "Yes, but you can't murder me." And Rachel gives a great line. Are you sure? Because I kind of want to murder you.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed at a lot of things in this episode, but that
Yeah,
was a great line.
yeah.
And then they're going through the people that they can murder. We get our bedroom B-roll. I'd been looking
Mm-hmm.
out for. I'd been saying before, and some listeners had said, "Hey, Matthew, they're not doing these shots in the bedroom." We get it in episode 6.
Yeah.
we. I wonder what took so long. It's funny that they suddenly do it halfway through the series. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, a very simple answer. Not that Studio Lambert are struggling for budget, but I do wonder if they think, what's the point in filming 22 people in the rooms when a few of them are going to disappear after episode 2? Maybe we just wait until we know there's fewer people left and we know them better. I just wonder if it's that. Like, why
Yeah.
go to the bother of filming like Ben or Nettie when, 2 episodes later no one remembers who that is? I don't know, just a
Right.
guess. So we see, some of the guys in the rooms, Matt doing one of his famous headstands, of course, on social media. He is wearing fewer clothes than this. And they talk about Faraz. They say, well, they say he's very considered. He's very articulate at the round table. I don't know if I've noticed that, but hey, if they're saying it, maybe it's true. I think it is true that he doesn't talk a lot, but when he does speak, he has a suspect in mind. He has a reason for suspecting that person, and he votes according to what he's saying, and he usually votes in line with at least one or two other people. So
By by the way,
he's not throwing out wild votes.
yeah, speaking of Faraz, can we officially debunk the Faraz is the son of Maz now, since it was never mentioned on the
Yeah,
show?
yeah, it's not coming up. It's not a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
I mean,
I
I
know
think we can.
we've had two relationships so far, but for them not to mention any others yet, it
Yeah,
tells
yeah,
me they are probably not there. And
yeah.
so, a lot of people just thought it was, oh, everybody's in a relate. No, no, they're not.
No, yeah, you're right. At this point, episode 6, they would be showing us them now. So many people have
Mhm.
gone. They had all those moments that the banished or murdered people could have said,
Right.
"Oh, can't believe I'm gone because Fiona's my mum." Like
Yeah.
they've not. But none of that. I don't think any more of that is coming. Actually, I think we're done with the relationships.
The funny thing
Uh,
was, I don't know if you saw this, but at some point, someone was circulating something that said, "Oh, this is proof that Harriet and Hugo are sister and brother."
oh, yeah, it's one of the many theories I've heard because they're both
Well, it wasn't just a
barristers.
theory; it was this printout from like either Google or something like that. Well, it was.
Okay.
This just shows you how well the Google AI or whatever AI it was an AI. Someone asked the AI. The AI pulled this information in, and it was wrong. It probably pulled it from some random message board or Reddit
Yeah.
where they were talking
Yeah.
about it, and then just regurgitated it as if it was true, and then it started circulating like, "Oh, this proves that it's." And other people were responding, "No, that's just an AI response. It makes
Yeah.
zero sense."
Yeah, never trust
No.
Google AI, or I have seen it say things wrong many a time.
Oh yeah.
So they've talked about Faraz, they talk about Matthew and say he's very clever, thank you. And they say, oh, he always asks for clarification, like the moment at breakfast with Reese and he pinned him down on exactly how he described the mission and seemed to he didn't really catch him out because Reese wasn't a traitor, but he did explain himself badly, like you said.
I forgot that
And
was Matthew. Matter of fact, I until this
yeah,
episode, I'd forgotten everything about Matthew. So yeah.
only room for one Matthew in your mind. I understand.
Well, I mean,
I get it.
my son does have the same name.
Oh, of
So,
course. Oh, yeah. There's that Matthew too. Kind of an important one. Okay, only room for two.
he just tried FaceTiming me while we were on here. I was like, sorry, podcasting.
Hi, Matthew. Stephen at this point says something really funny. He says we might have to do something that throws the cat amongst the chickens. Stephen, that's not the phrase. It's cat
It
amongst the
could be. I was
pigeons.
trying to think of what would happen if you threw a cat amongst the chickens. I don't know. I should
Might have
try.
a
There's a guy
similar.
down this there's a guy down the street who raises chickens, and the dummy doesn't have his fence high enough. So in the neighborhood group, there's always someone posting, like,
Oh,
the chickens are out
there's
again. He's like, yeah, those are mine. I mean, like every other day, this keeps happening. And finally, someone said, not to be rude, but why does this keep happening? And he said, well, they jump the fence or fly over the fence or whatever. And I wanted to
yeah,
respond, get a bigger fence, but I
yeah.
didn't. I decided not to.
Yeah, I mean they can fly. I used to have chickens when I lived up in
Oh.
Glasgow, and mine were utterly fenced in though. They had a coop with a roof, like they couldn't leap anywhere, so they never
Did you ever
escaped.
throw a
And
cat amongst them?
I did not introduce my cats to them.
Okay.
They did like to watch through the window sometimes, but it wouldn't have gone well.
I
No.
might have to do that before our next podcast. I'll go throw a cat over the fence over there and see what happens.
Oh no, I'm worried about the chickens. I'm scared. I want you to
I'm
film
more.
this for Instagram, but also maybe you shouldn't. You might get banned. So yeah, Stephen has his new catchphrase, I guess, cat amongst the chickens. And Rachel then brings up Reese. They've not talked about him yet. I mean, there's other players they don't talk about, but I guess these are the three we're being narrowed down to. And they sort of, well, they say we could take him out of the game and just give him a break. Ha ha ha! He's been so wrought and upset, and they kind of agree that yeah, I think actually, even though he just survived the tiebreak, he then got so emotional, and his response after seemed to make a lot of people think, "Oh, this is genuine. I don't think he's faking this." It's very sudden. I mean,
Yeah,
just to have that extreme shift, like, "Oh, he's out of the running altogether." But
yeah, I wouldn't have. I would not have done that. I would. I mean, I wouldn't even have considered him for
yeah,
murder. I'd be like, there's so much suspicion on him. Even if he has one night, who cares? Maybe it'll swing back, and and I think we'll see some of that later.
yeah, and they also give another really terrible reason later in the flashback as to why they picked him. But my prediction was Faraz in episode 5. That's who I thought they were going to go for. I just felt he was a quieter player, wasn't probably not going to get banished. He's never had a vote, and so on.
Yeah, I
So they
didn't
make
make
their
an. I didn't make official prediction in my mind, but if I had, it would have been like anyone but Reese.
I was very, very surprised.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, oh, was there more we didn't see? Was there really an extreme shift amongst everyone? Did everyone get together and say, "Ah, Reese, you're off the hook"? Or, oh yeah,
Hmm.
we can. I don't know. I don't know. So they make their decision. Fiona volunteers to write it, yeah, saying, "This is my first official murder." To which Rachel replies, "And it might be your last." We finish at the turret with ongoing friction between the two women. Fiona saying, "There's only two outcomes. It's either me or it's you." And Rachel, I think correctly, says in her miv, "I'm all for causing chaos in the castle, but there's no room for chaos in that turret." And yeah, I think generally across seasons of Traitors, when the team of traitors have conflict amongst themselves, it's just a recipe for failure. It's you
Yeah.
really, and I know there comes a time when it's almost inevitable the traitors are going to have to vote out one of their own. But you do that when you have to,
Yeah.
and there's no option. You don't turn against it's just a bad move, I think, as a traitor to scheme and try and get your fellow traitors out. Even Rachel, at some point in this episode, kind of admits that. She does say, at some point, yeah, I probably was going to go for Fiona, but I wasn't going to do it now.
Right.
And, this wasn't the time. So we move to breakfast. First group arrive. It's all faithful. They reflect a bit on Amanda's exit last night. Rachel arrives in the next group with Harriet, which is significant. And Harriet tells us that she wants to get to the bottom of this Rachel versus Fiona scenario, and she says that she likes Rachel, she's close to her, but doesn't fully trust her. And we've seen Harriet before, the way that she got Hugo banished. Maybe it was just complete luck, but she seems, you know, insightful and clever and notices things, and there are a few things she says in this episode that make me think, yeah,
Yeah.
she's a clever player. She is looking in the right places. And Rachel lays out again exactly to the people who are here what happened last night, bit by bit, and says she is, talking about Fiona, she's 100% coming in this morning, or I'm going to eat the teapot. And of course, cut to Fiona walks in.
Yes.
Rachel, stand down, don't need to eat the teapot. And Fiona is telling us in Miv as she comes in, I think the grenade yesterday was a good move. No, no, Auntie Fiona, it wasn't a good move. I think maybe she now will realise that. I don't know. And I haven't watched Uncloaked yet. A couple of listeners have sent messages talking about some of the stories that Fiona tells on this episode of Uncloaked, which make me want to watch it. And next, supermodels Ellie and Jade arrive. I'm calling them that because they both look so tall. So I knew Ellie was tall. We've kind of seen that, but Jade also seems to be towering above everyone as she walks
Yeah.
in. And we hear Roxy saying she's whispering to maybe like Adam or someone beside her. Oh, I need to start looking at Jade, presumably because of Amanda always targeting
Yes.
her, and now they think Amanda is the all-knowing, all-powerful being. And Jade even admits in her confessional that she thinks her days are numbered. And yeah, this is where I think they are putting way too much faith in Amanda's former profession. Police detective does not equal mind reader. Like, just because, yes, okay, maybe her career means she's good at asking clever questions, good at, I don't know, noticing things that are important versus things that are unimportant, piecing
Hmm.
pieces of circumstantial evidence together, maybe a bit of very obvious body language reading. If police detectives knew when people were lying and knew when people were telling the truth, we wouldn't have crime. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have people getting away with crimes. We wouldn't have people being wrongfully convicted of things. Like, that's not how it works. Like, you're not suddenly somebody who can tell the truth all the time or tell when someone's lying. So, yeah, they're
And
they're
yeah.
they're going a bit too hard.
Yeah. And this is, something I've said many times before. Even like I think I said it either last time or in the US, I don't remember. But even the so-called FBI class on body
Mm,
language reading is still full of crap.
yeah.
So it's no, just no, it doesn't matter. And I think that Amanda is the perfect example that every future Traitors player should look at to realize, oh, David's been right this whole time. Because she's the detective inspector, or was it detective chief inspector? She's a former detective chief inspector who acted like she could tell everything and she knew it with certainty. And she was 100% wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
In both directions about who she could trust and who she couldn't trust. It's like, stop it, people.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure it won't stop them.
I know.
And of course, Studio Lambert want to cast players who are going to do dumb things. So they're not going to cast a full cohort of people who have noticed all of these things.
Well, I'm not saying tell them in your application. Oh, I know better than to do this.
Yeah.
Just once you get there, actually, keep that in mind.
Put it into action. Yes.
Yeah.
So we're down to either Faraz, Reese, or Matthew to return, or 2 out of the 3. The door knocks. It's Matt and Faraz. Yeah, we talked about it already, but I was very shocked. My prediction was Faraz. Didn't see them going for Reese. We flash back to the traitors saying that they think Reese has sort of cleared his name now because he's been so emotional. But Rachel also suggests a little mercy killing wouldn't go amiss. Let's be sort of kind to them. And I thought, no, be horrible, do bad things. Like, don't be nice to them. Keep, play the game. So,
I thought they were saying it was a mercy killing for him because he was having such a miserable time, not to the other players. I thought it was to him. Like, he's so upset, he's so emotional, he's going through it, so it's a mercy killing of him.
It was. I thought it was both. I thought it was because they said that earlier, like maybe he just needs to be out of the game, give him a break. Yeah. I thought they were kind of implying, we'll give the faithful a night off or something like that. Maybe I was wrong.
But here's the thing also. At breakfast, before the last few walk in, several people say, well, of course he's coming back.
Yeah, of course.
So not everybody presumed that he was cleared, despite what the traitors thought. There were at least some people who were like, oh, no, he's obviously coming back. And so, it's like, no.
Bad move, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Reese gets his letter. He's happy that the murderer at least clears his name, although he won't be there to see the satisfaction. And he still has his faith in the smart brains amongst the faithful. So I guess, Harriet may be one of those people. Jesse, yes. I think that may be it.
Yeah.
Maybe he's giving them too much credit. Back to breakfast. James is crying. Oh, Reese is gone. Too little, too late, James. You were horrible to him. And Ellie confirms that, for her at least, that his emotions last night. She sort of says, maybe that's why he's gone, because the traitors thought, some of us at least thought that he was a faithful now. And Harriet says, I'm not shocked that he's a faithful, but I do wonder who would have chosen to do this, who would benefit from it. Rachel's pointing at Fiona the whole time. And Rachel's asking, what does Fiona have to gain from killing him? She's been naming him as a traitor for a while now. I think Rachel's line of thought is, I'll convince them it's a big bluff from Fiona. She's been acting like she thinks he's a traitor, so we won't believe that she as a traitor would have killed him. She doesn't say that. That's just me guessing.
Right.
Meanwhile, Adam is noticing that Jade is being very quiet and just looking around and observing everyone. Yeah, that's what doesn't make you a traitor.
Yeah.
That's just, what's wrong with that? I don't know.
No, if you're quiet and you just listen, you're obviously a traitor.
Obviously, the faithful don't need to listen to anything.
To be fair, I will say, and I have done a video on this that you might or might not have seen, that Boston Rob gave some advice to Rob Sesternino before coming into the Traitors US. This is not a spoiler. This happened before the game. And said, the way you want to play is to stay quiet, listen, stay quiet for at least a while so that you don't raise anything. So yes, that is good advice. I mean, it's good advice, quite frankly, whether you're a traitor or you're faithful, but especially if you're a traitor, it is good advice until, as Ellie noted in an earlier episode, until the point where people start saying, You've been awfully quiet. That's
Yeah.
suspicious. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a you're walking a tightrope there.
Yeah. Adam also says something else here that immediately made me think of you, David. I'm sure you will have had thoughts. He says, being a ghost hunter, trying to get information out of a ghost is hard, but trying to get information out of a traitor is a joke. Thought, yes, Adam.
So
Trying to
Adam,
get information out of a ghost is hard.
okay, so I have to tell you, the first episode I was watching, and I usually watch these at like 1.5x. But the first episode I was watching, and I thought I heard someone say they were a ghost hunter, but then I never saw it come up again. And
Yeah.
I viewed Adam as one of the, as I've called them last time, the generic white guys.
Yes.
And so it all kind of blended in as a blur, and it never happened again. And I thought, oh, maybe they were joking. Maybe they just made that up. And somehow I missed that line too. I heard him say something about getting information out of a traitor is hard. So either you're lying to me, but that would be a really blatant lie, or it just scooted past me because I'm still tired from the past few days here.
Well, I won't say anything else about it. I'm going to move
Okay.
on. Uh, Claudia comes in, does all the usual, and gives them their clue for the mission, saying the traitors are doing a lovely thing with smoke and mirrors. And she asks them to split into three teams ahead of the mission later. We get some reality time around the castle. Stephen is now reflecting in interview that yes, the three traitors probably can't make it to the end together, despite enjoying the Celtic cohort, as he calls it. And he does recognise that he made this initial promise with Rachel. They were going to go to the end together no matter what. They'd never vote for each other. And as one of our listeners in the previous episode suggested, that is most likely the smart thing to do. Stick out of the two, stick with Rachel, not Fiona.
Yes.
Because as our listener suggested, he can blame the Library 5 thing on Fiona. That maybe takes care of that. In the billiards room, Jesse is still on the Stephen being well, sometimes they call it the Library 5. Here she calls it the traitor in the library. It's a great name for an Agatha Christie novel that doesn't exist, The Traitor in the Library. I looked it up. No such book exists. There are loads of books called The Traitor. There's a book called The Traitor Queen. There's no The Traitor in the Library, so someone should write that book.
I mean,
It would
you
sell
are a
loads.
writer.
I could just write it. I could write a short story. I could
Yeah.
do it tonight. It wouldn't be very good, but I could try. And I could do it for the end of the season. Maybe I could write a half decent short story by then. We've got a couple of weeks. In the kitchen, Fiona is talking to Matthew and Ellie and reiterates again that she is sure Rachel made up this lie about Amanda and she's going to fight her corner till the end. A few other players come in. Faraz is here. Faraz names Stephen as his number one suspect. And Fiona is defending Stephen, of course. She's really close to him. She still thinks that her and Stephen are going to make it to the end together. And
And she does it so blatantly. She does it in exactly the way Rachel said she wouldn't do it. Oh, not Stephen, or something like that. I mean, it's just it's not subtle at all. And if anyone picks up on that, especially after the results today, Stephen could still find himself in trouble.
yeah, and we do have a couple of listener questions about that later. About is Stephen in the clear now? Is this great for Stephen? I don't think he's totally in the clear. I think there are still one or two issues for Stephen that we'll get to. Meanwhile, ironically, whilst Fiona is defending Stephen and saying, no, no, no way, he's in the library talking to some others and is actually planting a little seed. Maybe he should be looking at Fiona. He names four people. He says, I'm closest to Jack, Jade, Jesse, Fiona. His implication is, yeah, maybe I should actually look at the people that I am closer to. Maybe I've not been doing that up until now. And Rachel's in the room at the time and insists, of course, she's absolutely going for Fiona tonight. And has the impression that that won't be too difficult. I think she knows that other people are more likely to believe her than Fiona.
I mean, the story itself, just from Fiona's story, it makes no sense. It's not like Rachel was under heavy suspicion and therefore needed to find a reason to divert attention to those two. If that had been the case, okay, fine. Then you say, oh, I think you're just making up that story to save yourself. No, Rachel was, I mean, like maybe one person ever voiced that we heard suspicion of Rachel. So for Fiona to just come out full bore like that, she lost her damn mind.
Yeah, yeah. That does remind me though, something, and apologies to the listener who sent me this, and I can't remember who it is, but I have read your message and paid attention. One of our listeners sent me a message saying, Matthew, sometimes you say you don't really watch Uncloaked, and I make fun of it sometimes, but they pointed out it is quite useful to hear the eliminated players give us their theories about who they think the traitors are. And I do agree, and I do watch those moments. I like to see, and it's fun to just see the reaction to who the traitors are, but it is also interesting to hear the eliminated players. They're obviously asked by production, tell us who you think the traitors are. So they'll say, oh, I think it's this, 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 this. And that is, they can't edit that away. They have to show us what the people say at this point. So it's a great opportunity for us to see who did they really think. And something I noticed way back in the second episode of Uncloaked, when it was Judy and Nettie who'd been eliminated first, Nettie, I think it was Nettie, did name Rachel and was correct. So, and I thought, oh, wow, so at least one person was willing to give her in a list of 3 out of like 20 people at that point.
I mean, and also random roll of the dice there at that point. So
it could be. And Judy also got, I think, got Stephen right at that very early point. So yeah, it is interesting to see. It's also, of course, interesting to see the players who go, I think it's these 5 people, and all 5 of them are wrong.
Yeah. I mean, they had those reveals like in Traitors Canada. And mostly we did use them in discussions sometimes. Mostly what it was good for was making fun of the people for, saying that. And they, on the U.S. podcast that they have now, they have Boston Rob and Bob the Drag Queen. And that's not the same thing. They're not interviewing people from the moment. They're interviewing them here. And this one, I think they only interviewed Rob. I mean, not Rob, Bob and Rob interviewed. There's too many damn people with that name. I don't
Are you going to tell me who they interviewed and spoil who got eliminated?
Oh yeah, I probably shouldn't do that then. No, no, I would never do that. They were interviewing, from afterwards, but they didn't interview all of them, is my point. They, because there were 3 people and they only interviewed, I think, 2. And like one of them wasn't even there in person. I didn't see the video. I just listened to the audio. But the funny thing for me is that they even picked those 2 guys to do this podcast because they weren't there about strategy. But then I remember the Uncloaked, and he is terrible when it comes to strategy. He's a comedian. He doesn't, Again, I said this on the U.S. version, on the U.S. podcast. Just listen to us. Don't listen to the official ones.
Of course. And we can be honest. They're not going to say negative things about the production or
right. And that's
give away secrets.
Yeah,
we'll give the unfiltered truth.
Yeah.
Back in some part of the castle. Oh, we're in the kitchen now. We've got Harriet talking to Adam, and says, she really wants to know if Fiona is a faithful or a traitor. I think she's implying, although I don't know if Adam is totally picking this up, I think Harriet is implying maybe it's good to banish her anyway, find out whether she's a faithful or a traitor, and that, whatever the answer is, will help shed light on things. Like, if actually she's a faithful, that might not be a bad thing, because it might suggest that Rachel is a traitor and that Fiona was onto something. I think that's what Harriet means, and I don't know if Adam picks that up.
Yeah, I was trying to follow that too, and I was like, okay, I think I came to the same conclusion as you did.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't say it outright. She just says something like, I really want to know whether she's a faithful or a traitor.
Yeah.
And goes on to say to Adam, sometimes if you think you've got one, meaning you've got a traitor, keeping them close is not a bad thing to do. And yeah, we've heard this referred to as the traitor angel strategy across different series. So yeah, a lot of clever players realize they maybe ought to do that. If you're a faithful and it's tough being a faithful because every single morning you might be murdered, maybe what you ought to do to give yourself a better chance is suss out who you think a traitor is Don't tell everybody. Stick to them. Make them think that you're their ally. Maybe they'll keep you in the game, and then you can turn on them later. Time for the mission. They are all in their groups that they've decided. In the red team, it's Adam, Jack, James, and Jesse. Blue team is Faraz, Rachel, Roxy, Harriet, and Matthew. And in the green team, Jade, Stephen, Sam, Taylor Swift, and Sabrina Carpenter. Oh wait, it's Ellie and Fiona.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm like, wait, Taylor Swift's connected to the U.S. version, not to the UK version.
That's why she couldn't do the US one. She was in the UK. And if anyone who doesn't know, Taylor Swift's future husband's mum is a cast member on Traitors US, Mama Kelsey. So,
and the funny part is that even you saw it in the first episode, so I can mention this, but I will say it carries on beyond that of other players being like, we can't get rid of her. The Swifties will come for us.
The Swifties will get us. And a listener has sent me a Taylor Swift Mama Kelsey comment. I'm saving it for you, David.
Okay.
In the mission, what they have to do is... actually, it's funnily enough, a listener also had asked us, and I think just the most recent episode, or the episode I had with Sanji, episode 4, a listener asked us, oh, I miss those missions where they have to answer questions about one another. So hey, here we have one of them back.
Yeah.
The players filled out questionnaires last night, apparently, and in the mission they will face questions about the overall consensus of the group. They're going to travel around the woods, face these cool mirrors. At first I thought it was just graphics, but I think they really do have this writing that appears illuminated. Yeah. It's cool. I like it. It's smart. I want one of those. More merch. Make this merch. And the winning team who guesses the most answers correctly will be granted a special gift. and for a moment, I thought Claudia was going to say the dagger that we've seen in other seasons that gives somebody a double vote. But no, it's something I haven't seen in any English-speaking version.
No.
It's the chance to visit the walled garden and win the ability to talk to the traitors. What does this mean? How's it going to work? Ooh, I've never seen this. I don't know. Will it be just a bit pointless and silly, or might someone make great use of it? We'll see. In the event of a tie, it comes down to the team who answered quickest, so they can't deliberate about it for too long. They want to be speedy. I'll go through the questions and the answers. Question 1. This was quite an ambiguous question. Who is the fairest of them all?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because one of the questions that I have for the next for the Q&A podcast is, hey, this is quite an ambiguous question. Or words to that effect. Like, what did you think? Because I don't know that I agree with the way everybody was interpreting it. So, yeah.
Yeah. They all took it very sort of literally and thought, oh, it means fair, as in who's got the most sense of justice and so on. Who's a fair player. Right. I thought it just meant what it means in the fairy tale in Snow White. I thought it meant,
well, don't answer now,
hottest?
or else we won't be able to talk about it later.
Okay. Yeah, my immediate reaction was a very superficial one. So they, funnily enough, all get it wrong. Red go for Harriet, green go for Jesse, blue go for Jack. But actually, the answer is Matt, which is interesting. It suggests there must have been a real mix of responses, and it wasn't like an overwhelming majority if none of them figured out amongst themselves that he was going to probably have the most votes. Yeah. So he's quite happy with that. Question 2, who's the most likable of them all? And most teams quickly assume it's Jesse.
Yeah, for that one, by the way, I was thinking like the fairest of them all. You mean the most invisible of them all? The most unknown of them all?
Or something else it could mean. Well, I'll save it for the bonus episode. Yeah. Another interpretation. Most teams assume that Jesse's the most likable, although there's a funny moment of Roxy going, I'm not being arrogant, but it could be me. Yeah. And they're like, no, it's Jesse. And they all guess Jesse. They're all correct. Jessie's reactions throughout this mission are hilarious. She just, every time she's right, she's rolling around on the floor. Like, she's like, yeah! Like, she's won the whole show. I mean, and she's on a team with James. James is also already a very frenetic character. So she's got...
There's more than one reason I call him David Tennant. Yes.
Yeah. He's doing very much the Doctor. Like, wah! Like, jumping about. So Jessie, I mean, I'm not complaining. It's good fun to watch. Keep it coming. She's invested. Question 3, who is the blandest of them all? And poor Ellie, they just sort of all are like, yeah, I think it's you.
Yeah.
And Ellie's just like, okay, go for living up to the title is just like, yeah, okay, I guess so. And she even says, well, fair enough. I guess I'm coming in with lots of secrets. Maybe I'm coming across as bland because I don't want to give things away.
Yeah.
I do wonder if that could be helpful, that, she's not standing out too much.
Right.
So, well, she's still in at this point. She's had like a couple of votes here and there. I don't know. They all vote for Ellie. They're all correct. Question 4: who's the most arrogant of them all? They immediately also are like, Sam.
Yeah.
I also would have thought Sam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all correct. It's really funny as well, just the simplicity of the template of the questions. It's just, who is the insert
Right.
superlative of them all? I wonder how many options they went through when they were developing this game. Like, who's the smelliest of them all? No, we can't do that.
They had that on Survivor. That they've had stuff like this on Survivor before, and yes, it was a reward challenge type thing, and so yes, Jeff Probst said, "Okay, who here smells the worst?" And they sent them up there, and they received a free shower. I mean, it was a bush shower. They got to go take a bush shower with actual soap and shampoo. I just rewatched that season last week, so that's why I remember
Well,
it. But yeah,
they missed the chance to do it here. It could have created a lot bit more conflict. Send someone off to, I don't know, shower in the walled garden. Who knows?
I mean that's the thing on Survivor. You're kind of expected to be smelly. If you're smelly in a castle, I mean, if
No
you're smelly
excuse.
like in a medieval castle, yeah, that would be expected too, because it was medieval. But if in medieval actual times, now though, yeah, you shouldn't be.
Not an Arderos castle. It's,
Yeah.
it's far too nice. So they get the Sam one right. Jesse's rolling around on the ground again. And in the end, it's a tie in terms of correct answers. So it'll be decided by the fastest team. And the fastest team is the blue team, which is Faraz, Rachel, Roxy, Harriet, and Matthew. They then get to do the next part of the mission, part 2. There are 5 mirrors lined up inside this walled garden. Take a hammer, pick one each, smash it. If smoke comes out, you've won the special opportunity to speak to the traitors. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I mean, I think someone at Studio Lambert at some point was like, hey, you can put smoke machines inside a mirror. This is cool. Let's use it. And it doesn't make sense, but well, we'll do it anyway. And
Smoke and
what's
mirrors.
really funny, smoke. I guess it's smoke and
Yeah.
mirrors.
Yeah.
They also do add in a little bit of CGI extra smoke just to sort of enhance it in one or
They
two
did?
shots. Yes, and they don't need like smoke does come out the mirrors, but in a couple of shots you can see there's like fake extra smoke. Oh, so David, you're making a noise of suspicion. You
I have
think
to write something down here. Hold on.
Oh, what could it be? Okay. David thinks something's going on here. Listeners,
Excuse me.
listeners
Excuse
have
me
spotted
while
it too.
I,
They know I'm not lying. They were like, yeah, Matthew, I did see the fake smoke. Claudia
Uh-huh.
then explains.
In our break between this and the Q&A one, I think I have to rewatch something.
That's not allowed. That's cheating.
I don't remember that being in the rules.
Damn, I have to add an extra rule. Claudia explains that, yes, the people who get the smoke will each have the chance to ask the traitors 2 questions, but the traitors don't have to tell the truth.
And I'm
And
like,
the
yeah, of course they don't have to tell the truth. That would be
yeah,
really, really dumb if they did. It's like, is Rachel a traitor? Damn, you caught us. Yes. Okay.
yeah, it's like a very diluted version of the seer, where you one player finds out for sure the identity of somebody. The traitors could just say what they want. My immediate reaction is what is there a point to this? Like if the traitors could just say
I think
whatever
we
they
will find out
want.
there actually is a point. By the time we get
Yes.
to the end of this episode, I am actually impressed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you think of a clever way to manipulate the
right.
situation, it ends up being a great opportunity. Yeah. Lots of players could just totally squander it and ask a ridiculous question
Hmm.
that the traitors just lie to. But the players who smashed the mirrors and got the smoke were Rachel, who is a traitor, Harriet, and Matthew. In the cars on the way back, I've just noted that the teams, yeah, they chat a bit. This winning team, they do talk about how should we play it, how are the traitors going to feel. Oh, we'll go back to the castle and we'll talk amongst ourselves. We won't give the others the full details of what this all meant. And
Okay,
yes,
I
they
have
were.
to interrupt you here for one thing
Oh,
because a friend of
yes,
mine
yes.
sent me a message yesterday. And this is about US, but it's also about Scotland in general. I
Okay.
presume in Scotland they drive on the left-hand side, like in
Yeah,
England.
yeah.
Apparently, he said, have they always driven on the wrong side of the road in the US version? By wrong, he means right.
Mm,
So in the US version, he said they're actually driving on the right side of the road in the cars
okay.
to and from the mission and stuff. I didn't notice it. I presume they do the left side in this version, but it's odd. So I wanted to ask you and make sure if you've noticed either way.
I haven't noticed. I could use this as my lie opportunity and say, "Oh yes, we
Hmm.
do drive on the right in Scotland." No, they drive on the left. My guess is one of two things. That up here where they film, it's really narrow single track roads, and actually sometimes they're probably just in the middle of the roads
Hmm.
because there are so few cars around that you can just kind of do whatever you want. Or my best guess actually is I bet sometimes they flip the images
I was
and
wondering,
we're
yeah.
seeing a mirror image. In fact, Magicer on episode 2 of the podcast noticed that they not the same thing, but did a reverse shot. There was like a sort of a zoom into the castle, but he noticed from the way that the flags were moving,
Hmm.
they had clearly, played the footage backwards. So maybe sometimes, maybe for US, it's ridiculous suggestion, but I don't know. I don't know why they would bother doing this, but because they're
Yeah,
like, oh,
because
it's
they know
US
they're in,
viewers, let's make them think it's on the right. I don't know.
but I mean, they know they're in a Scottish castle. It's not
Yeah.
like they're
So,
pretending this is, I mean, like The Circle used to film in London and pretend it was in Chicago.
yeah.
So if that were the case, I mean, in The Circle, they never leave their apartment. But, if that were the case, they used to show scenes of Chicago. Now, they never specifically said we're in Chicago, but they showed scenes that especially someone like me would know, oh, that's Chicago.
Mhm.
And so, if that were the case, where they were trying to fake people out, I could understand it. But
Yeah.
no, they're not. So
Yeah,
sorry,
don't know.
tangent.
Yeah. They drive on the left, and I assume they've flipped the images, or yes,
Hmm.
it's just they're just coasting in the middle of a road because they can do that up there. Uh, in the castle, then they arrive back. The winning team, meets together in the billiards room. Rachel's trying her best to insist, "Oh, we can't let the traitors know. We have to keep this amongst ourselves." Maybe a little bit too over the top because I think
Hmm.
Harriet's not buying this and is being very, very coy. She does it again later as well. She's just sort of like, oh, I don't know how, oh, I don't know what we could ask. Harriet's smart enough to probably think of a great question, but she is not telling anyone here because this team is playing it like we're we're the faithful. The traitors are out there.
Right.
None of them are just saying outright, like at least there could be two of us here who are traitors.
Yeah.
Let's not be idiots about it. But they're playing it like we are all faithful guys. Come on, let's keep this secret. In the bar, the players then all meet together, and Roxy reveals, "Yeah, we're something big's happening tonight, but we've decided we're going to keep it to ourselves. You'll find out why." Rachel and Jade have a little funny chat in the corridor when they're talking about Fiona, and Fiona walks past, and it's all very
Yeah.
awkward and posed. We have Stephen, Ellie, and Fiona chatting a bit in the billiards room later, and Fiona again is going over what happened last night. And you mentioned this, she's very fixated on the idea that her family is like a police family. She can't believe that Amanda wouldn't have confided in her about her career. And again, yeah, it's sort of a bit main character energy, and maybe Fiona thinks that she was closer to Amanda than she really was, but she's stuck on this one thing. And Stephen, I think takes his opportunity and plays. I think plays really well here. He
Hmm.
later on he's in the kitchen. He's talking to Jessie. He knows that Jessie's, if not directly going to come for her tonight, she's never going to move on from him until she finds
No,
out the truth. And
she
they
says
talk
that as
about,
much. I mean, she
yeah,
repeatedly says that in this episode. This is the theory I have. I have to stick with it until it's proven one way or another.
yeah, yeah. She's talking about the traitor in the library, and because Stephen knows that, and she keeps saying it, he, I think, quite tactfully, quite diplomatically says, I get it. I get why you're questioning me. I'm not telling you not to, but just keep your mind open. There were other people in the room too, and he says in his interview at this point to us, well, if Fiona goes tonight, then the Library 5 theory goes with her. Maybe this
Yeah.
actually is really good for me. So yeah, he has noticed that, yeah, this could be really useful for me in terms of what Jesse's after. So he's already preparing himself for what he is probably going to have to do at the round table. And speaking of the round table, it's time. It's quite obvious what we're going into. We're going into Rachel versus Fiona. A couple of other things do come up, but that's the biggie that we all are waiting to hear. Claudia comes in and does her speech. £47,250 in the prize fund. Over to you, players. Rachel begins immediately. It was either going to be Rachel or Fiona. Like, I want to start. So Rachel gets in there. She lays it all out. But she adds in a little bit more, a
Yes.
new element this time, I think. Because I think she doesn't want to just say, well, because of last night. She's trying to make it a
A,
bit
a,
broader than that. She
a
she
bigger
says,
story.
actually, yeah, yeah, like last night was just the icing on the cake, and actually, I've suspected Fiona for a
Yeah.
while. I've not seen her say this to other players on camera, but maybe she probably has at some point.
Right.
And none of the other players go, "You've never said that," so
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's true. She says, "Yeah, I've had my suspicions of Fiona for a while," and she does this thing where she claims she's very good at monitoring changes in behavior. And actually, it was Rachel who, in one of the early episodes, said she's been studying the FBI behavior, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So she reckons she's really good at that. She can tell when people have changed their behaviors and so on.
I bet,
And
as a matter of
she
fact, she's so good that if you asked her right now at this point in the game, she could tell you exactly who the traitors and the faithful are.
it does work then. Hey,
Yeah.
it works. Maybe I should do it. And she's playing up the idea that Fiona changed from the train to being in the castle after the traitors were chosen. Over to Fiona, she gives her version of events again, but adds in a false detail. I don't know if she means it or not. I don't know if she's misremembering. She claims that Rachel also said that Amanda left instruction to tell everyone that she was
Yes.
a detective.
Yeah.
Amanda
And
didn't say that. Or
right.
she did, it was cut out.
Yeah, and she also says there's no way she'd say what she did if she didn't believe she was saying the truth. And it's like, okay, you may believe it. That doesn't make it the truth, though. You
Yeah,
may
yeah,
believe you're the main character here. You may believe Amanda liked you so much. You may be wrong,
yeah,
but yes, that key, and it's something without giving anything away, that changing of the words. Because I think she did this on accident. I think Fiona did this on accident, saying,
hmm,
"Oh, Amanda said to, or Rachel said that Amanda told her not to." Because this is something without giving anything away. Let's just say when you eventually watch the U.S. episodes 2 and 3 and you listen to the podcast, uh, this type of topic will come up of people
mm,
hearing and mishearing and things like that.
yeah,
And we've seen it many times before where someone will just mishear something that's said in the car or
yeah,
misremember something. And so I really do think Fiona just got it into her head that this was said, but the problem is it's like an additional extra shovel digging her own grave here because other people step in. Rachel says that's a lie. Fiona says, "Stop that. I'm not a liar." And Rachel's like, "Well, if you tell a lie, you're a liar." And yeah, Matthew, who now that I recognize him finally, I'm like, "Oh, look at this." Uh, he says, "Yeah, there is a difference between what Rachel said and what Fiona said. And Rachel never said that Amanda told her to tell everyone."
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Yeah, it sort of goes back and forth a little bit. The with Fiona just reiterating that conversation with Amanda did not happen, even though she doesn't know that, like you said.
Yeah.
Jessie then speaks up, and it's all about the Library 5. Or at some point, I think she calls it the Library 3, because it's the
The library
prequel.
theory. Library
Oh, the
theory.
Library Theory.
Yeah.
I thought she was like taking people out. She's like, well, it couldn't have been me, and it couldn't have been this person. So yeah, she's talking about the library and says, yes, she's going to pursue this sort of line of investigation, get to the bottom of it. And I'm going to use the klaxon. It's cliche klaxon time. Fiona does the usual. If you put my name down and I get up and say I'm a faithful, oh, you'll be so disappointed. So after this, we shift away from the Fiona versus Rachel thing. We go in a different direction. Matthew comes for Sam, and as does Faraz, and they are
Well,
stuck on this idea that two proven faithful have both had conflict with you, Sam, or they've
yes.
both accused you of being a traitor, and then they've left the game, they've been banished or whatever.
Hmm.
And Ellie as well sort of is quite keen on this. Sam makes a great point, I think. It's something that I often say on the podcast, that they're putting way too much emphasis on the words of people
Yes.
who are gone. Just because they got banished and they were faithful doesn't mean they were right. He's like, what do they know? They were just faithfuls guessing like everyone else. And I mean, I guess maybe Matthew's point is, but if you were a traitor, you
Right.
wouldn't have liked that they were arguing with you, so you've engineered their exit in
Well,
some
also the
way.
fact that they accused him of lying. Like they
Yeah.
claim, and I think this is another misremembering situation we were just talking about. I don't remember exactly what they said, but I think it was another situation of they just two people remembered things differently or didn't remember things. And
Yeah.
so it comes off as he's lying. Oh, look, they're faithful. He's lying. Oh, look, they're faithful. Well, as Faraz says, they had no reason to lie. They were
Yeah.
faithfuls. And and so that's when Sam tries to turn it around and says it's that their suspicion was on him, which is completely up to them. But no, I think there was some stuff going on where it was like, no, they said one thing, he said another,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, one of those was Amanda, who actually, incorrectly, Sam's actually in the right here. She claimed at the round table that Sam said, we need to look at who's the most tired person after the cage
Oh,
mission.
right.
It's Reese. And Sam didn't actually say
No,
that.
yeah, he
So,
never
and
said
he's
that.
like, and he says, I didn't name Reese. And Amanda's like,
This
you
is
did.
this is
She
this
was
is
wrong.
why this is why police interviews need to be recorded now. You know,
Yeah.
she'd get up in court
Maybe
and say he pointed at Reese, and he'd be like, "I never said that." Sorry, got to
that
take
should
the
be
detective's word.
one of the, when they're looking every time they make a new series of the Traitors, they need a new twist, they need a new mechanic. One season it should be that one player gets a secret tape recorder and they get to go around and record everything, so that at round table they could be like, haha, and they press play and we hear what the person said.
I think it should be. There was a commercial here, a series of commercials here, and the funny thing is, oh, I think it was it insurance? I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was. I don't know. Do they have replays in soccer? In where they
Yeah,
could
yeah, it's like
actually
they'll do like the slow mo, yeah, yeah.
no, like do the refs get to use instant replay to
Oh, they
determine if
have
there was a foul
VAR,
or something?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, in American football, they can throw a flag in. The coach can throw like a yellow or orange flag in and say, "I want this replayed," and they can do it a certain number of times. So this commercial thing was basically a takeoff of that, but for like home life, and uh, so like in one case, they get out to this family get out to the campgrounds and they realize they left the tent at home. And so one says to the other, "You were supposed to pack the tent." And the other says, "No, you said you were going to pack the tent." And so one of them throws the flag and poof, it appears, and this video where it goes back and shows that the husband had said, "Oh yeah, I'll take care of packing the tent." And so that's what we need here is like they just need a
Yeah,
flag they can throw to say, "No, let's go to the tape and see what I actually said."
yeah. Once per series, you've got a flag, you get to use it. I'm calling replay. I mean, obviously that would be a pragmatic nightmare. The production team, like, oh my
Yeah,
God, now we need to go and back find that footage. But it's a fun idea.
yeah.
Uh, Adam then speaks up. He returns to what he observed at breakfast, that he noticed Jade being very quiet and subdued and so on. And Jade's just Jade's just like, oh yeah, I knew this was going to happen. I knew my name would come up, whatever. Maybe she does have a defense, but we just see her being like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. Oh, like I knew you were, whatever, just what. And now it's time for a really pivotal moment. Stephen kind of seals the result of the round table, I guess. He says he's going to have to look at Fiona despite being very close to her. He's getting upset. He's wondering if he's been all wrong all along and people beside him are comforting him because he's crying. And even Fiona is like, you don't need to get upset. And I don't think he's faking tears. He's obviously genuinely
Right.
really likes her and they're close. And he's like, oh God, I have to turn on her and get her out. And I didn't want to do this.
So, okay, she says something that just makes me mad because Fiona says, I guess she didn't say it to Stephen. You may have been about to get to it. She says, "Well, I'm a faithful, but if you feel the need to write my name down, do it." And it's
Yeah,
like,
I noticed
no,
that.
no, we've said this before. There's a terrible thing to say. Do not give them permission. If anyone was wavering, they'd be like, oh, okay. She said I
Yeah.
could, so she's not going to be mad at me. No, never give people permission to write your name down.
Yeah, I thought the same. It was sort of,
Yeah.
it was giving in too much. Just like, well, I've said my piece, so if you think you want to vote for me, like, defend yourself until the last
Right.
possible minute. It's a bit like Reese yesterday. He was so dejected and defeated at the table that I felt it made it much easier for others to vote for him
Hmm.
because they were like, well, he's kind of given up and he's not going to, if I vote for him, I don't feel that bad about it. So I think that possibly led to, I know he was saved, but it went to the tie break. Maybe that wouldn't have happened. It is time to vote then today, and Fiona is going to begin and votes for Sam, which really took me by surprise. I mean, there's maybe it's taken out of context, but there's a shot, a reaction shot of Stephen and Rachel, sort of like,
Yeah.
huh? Because the assumption was, well, she's going to go vote for Rachel. It's quite clear, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've been too cynical. She quite rightly is doing whatever she can to save herself. So she obviously thought, well, if anyone's
Well,
going to get
yeah.
banished, it's not me. It'll be Sam.
That was
So I might as well just vote for him.
that was my first thought, but then later we find something else out. So,
Yes, yeah.
um,
Which I don't know what I believe, but
yeah.
I thought the most logical response is she's trying to save herself by
Right.
voting for someone else who
Well,
might get a
and
majority of
we've seen
votes.
that Fiona's definitely logical
Yeah.
in everything she does.
Next to vote after Fiona is Adam, who votes for Jade, which is very random, and no one else votes for Jade, but we got that bit of context earlier. So I get, sometimes when people vote very oddly, I feel like the editors need to give us a bit of background so we understand at least. So that's why we got that moment at breakfast. It hasn't resulted in much else.
It's funny
For
because
us, isn't it?
sometimes they don't include the background. They'll just be a random vote, and we'll all be sitting there like, Why? Why?"
Sometimes. True. Faraz votes for Sam, which isn't a surprise. He's been cornering Sam. Roxy votes for Fiona. She's yeah, of course, people are going to vote for Fiona. I
Yeah.
don't even need to explain it. Stephen has the longest build up ever. He's in agony. He's crying. It's pretty clear what's going to happen and why this is being drawn out. He votes for Fiona, puts a little love heart on it. Ellie's next and votes for Sam. Yes, we saw her also questioning him. And Jack now votes for Fiona, which means there's actually a tie. Sam has 3, Fiona has 3, Jade has her random 1. I did wonder here, it's 3 each. Is this going to go horribly wrong for Stephen and Fiona stays? Now he's got to face her in the turret. But on we go. James, Sam both vote for Fiona. Matthew votes for Sam. Also, yeah, not surprising. He was coming for him.
Mhm.
Jesse then votes for Fiona, and I calculated that every vote beyond here would need to be for Sam just to make it a draw, so it's quite unlikely. Harriet's
Yeah, it's
next.
quite the opposite, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, everyone else just goes for
Yeah.
Fiona. Harriet, which means Fiona is going. Rachel, of course, votes for Fiona, and she didn't need to, she says, "Oh, I think you're absolutely amazing, but I believe you're a traitor." Rachel, just continue being horrible. And Jade votes for Fiona as well. Not that it matters at this point.
You horrible
Fiona,
witch! You're making up stories about me, and that's why
yeah,
I'm voting you out.
I voted for you and I'm glad.
Yeah.
So Fiona gives us her thoughts in confessional. She admits she thought she would be able to defend herself better and maybe her plan wasn't so great.
You
And she
think?
concedes that I was quite surprised here actually. She concedes that Rachel is a formidable character and she says that's one of the reasons I just couldn't put her name down. She deserves to win. And I thought, oh, I'm
Yeah.
really impressed with that. That's she's playing the game. That's cool. I like that Fiona's saying that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it bucks the trend of the parting gift that we might have fallen into, that every time a traitor goes, they throw out a vote against a fellow traitor, and often the players pick up on
Right.
that.
Right.
Who did they vote for? That means that so Fiona's not going to do that. I don't know what to believe. Did Fiona just vote for Sam to save herself, and now she's faking that she wanted Rachel? I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of both. She does say it's one of the reasons she didn't put Rachel's name down.
No, that's true.
Maybe the
That's
other
true.
reason was
Yeah.
I just wanted to stay.
Now, I do want to call out, she didn't just say her plan. She said, my cunning plan was not cunning at all, which I think is a Blackadder shout out. Isn't that where they repeatedly, I have a cunning plan?
Yeah, but almost an oxymoron here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a plan. She just like went mad and did it on the
And
spur of the
it
moment.
certainly was not cunning. So, it was neither.
Oh, Fiona, you had so much going for you. She gives her speech and says, I want to say I love this as well. It really made me laugh. She says, I haven't had the opportunity to grow to love you, but I do like you very, very much. Because
Thank
we
you.
so
Thank you. Yes.
we so often see them say like, I love you, you're friends for life.
After one day.
So she's like, I'm not going to say that I love you, calm down. But does a nice little thought. She says, I came in here to prove that women of a certain age should be listened to, and I feel like I have been listened to. So I like that. And says, you're wonderful, I'll never forget you. You may be surprised to hear that I am, oh, what's she going to say? A traitor. Woohoo, they go mad. They're knocking chairs over as they always do. Even Claudia's got a big grin on her face. She's almost wants to jump up with them. I mean, Stephen just looks as stressed as ever. So he's just standing behind his chair, sort of rocking back and forth. And Claudia congratulates them. Faithful, you got one. Let me also say, Fiona, what a woman. Yes, Claudia, quite right. And Claudia also gives them some good news that because some of the players have won this special benefit tonight, there will be no murder. Hooray! We're all
Yeah, I was
cheering.
like,
It's
why are you
fantastic.
linking it? You're making it sound like they won this special power. Someone was going to
But
win.
I thought there. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess the connection is because the traitors will be preoccupied tonight. They don't have time to also stay up really
Yeah.
late and then pick him up. But yeah, other than that, there's not really a connection. Yeah, they didn't like happen to win the chance to
Right.
not have a murder. That was inevitable. But it gives us a chance for a bit of levity. And I think, do you know what? We do need these moments that are fun, and we need to see the camaraderie between the group. Like, we can't just always have horrible things
Right,
happen and
right.
fights and arguments. We need a bit of contrast. We need that juxtaposition between the warmth and the friendship of the cast celebrating, because that makes all the tense moments so
Yes.
much more tense in contrast. Stephen, of course, is telling us in Miv he's really upset about Fiona. He recognizes now, okay, it's part of the game. More and more, I'm surprised that Stephen was chosen as a traitor in the first place, because he's so stressed all the time and gets really red and looks so anxious and fraught that I just wondered, did production just, maybe he just never came in casting, maybe he was always really cool and didn't play it like this, but yeah, I'm kind of surprised, like, why did they choose him? He's really seems to struggle. However, we do immediately move to Harriet saying she thinks that tonight was traitor on traitor and Rachel is her number one suspect. So she's clocked what's probably going on. We move to Jessie celebrating, saying she wishes Ross was here to see his banishment avenged. And Ellie's in the room. I almost thought Ellie was going to take the chance to say something like, well, I wish Ross was here too, because I'm his girlfriend.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. Probably a good idea not to admit now that you had a secret the whole time, because it just makes people go mad and suspect that you're lying about everything. And Jessie does astutely point out that she suspects at least one traitor jumped on the bandwagon there and probably voted for Fiona.
I mean,
so maybe.
Sorry.
No.
It's so obvious. I mean, there were how many votes were there that were not? I mean, there was, the one Sam, the one Jade,
there were like there were, I think, 5 that weren't for Fiona.
Yeah, so there were 4 Sam and 1 Jade. And it's like, of course someone jumped on the bandwagon. And it's like, but you're going to have to study the vast majority of the people. It's not like 2 people voted a certain way.
Yeah, I know. I just, at least she's just stating the obvious then. She's just saying, let's not forget that, we can't rule out those people. So, where am I? I'm losing my place in the notes. Yes, Jessie, and the last thing before midnight is just the bit of prep time for the winning team. They're in the library. They are, Rachel's desperately trying to get out of the others what they might ask. Of course, she wants to know in advance. And again, Harriet sees what's happening and is just very wary of admitting anything in front of Rachel, so it just pretends. She even offers the role to Roxy, who turns it down. I mean, I wouldn't have gone that far, Harriet. Like, take the chance, ask your clever question. And it's midnight, off we go. We're moving to the church. Claudia tells us, very dramatically, the stakes have never been higher and this could change the entire course of the game. Of course, she's got to say these grand statements. It probably won't, and the stakes probably have been higher, but yes, Claudia wants the audience enraptured. And Rachel and Stephen meet in the confessional booth, or what's a fake confessional booth. It's a very big confessional booth.
And that's what I thought too. I was like, boy, that is a very large confessional booth. It looks like what they did almost was, because normally it looks like, I mean, I'm not Catholic. I've never been to a confessional, but it looks like there's, I've seen enough movies and shows where there's the place that the priest sits and there's the place that the confessor sits. And, they're right next to each other. It looks like they hollowed out that whole thing, because this appears to be the same thing that they've used for the church missions before, where like the players come back to talk to Claudia and then they have to run out and find something amongst the parishioners.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they hollowed that whole thing out or they just have them like standing someplace else entirely and pass the note through.
Yeah, I do wonder if they are in actually a little sort of purpose-built studio somewhere else, and there's radios telling a member of production with a shaking piece of paper. I don't know, maybe, I don't know what's going on. Some sort of trickery. Like, they can't run the risk of, like, I don't know, Stephen bursts out laughing and Matthew's like, oh, that's Stephen. So
I think they can run that risk. I think if that happens to Stephen, it's his own fault,
I guess. So they've met up, they're reflecting on how well Fiona took the banishment, and they know, she didn't vote for Rachel in retaliation. Which makes me wonder, will it make Sam look even worse next time? Will one of the other players go, hey, Fiona voted for you, Sam. Why did she do that? So I'm jumping ahead. I'm going to say Sam's next banished. Matthew and Harriet approach the church. It's all very dramatic, of course. Matthew's telling us that he got voted most fair in that mission. So this is why I like these missions, because actually those answers play with the players' minds and they give them insights into how people see one another. So he knows that people trust him, but he's wary that being seen as too faithful means you're at risk of murder, of course. He enters, he walks down the aisle. It's like a glimpse of the wedding that he's saving for, that he told us in the very first episode. And he talks to the traitors. He says he's taking a leap of faith and he needs to gain trust from them. So he expects them to answer honestly, as if. And
Yeah, that at this point I wrote, that's just a silly thing to say, and I mean silly in the British way.
yeah, you mean dumb.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's a really funny moment where Stephen whispers, he wants to know who we are. No shit, Stephen. Of course he wants to know. Like, does he think that Matthew's going to say, so, traitors, I want to know, who are you? And they're going to be like, oh, should we tell him? He wants to know who we... So Matthew asks, who are you going to kill next and why? A listener sent us a suggestion of a slight change to that question that Matthew could have asked to trip them up, but we'll come to that in our bonus episode. Who are you going to kill and why? Rachel and Stephen whisper. And
now, is
say,
that one question or two questions? Because it sounds like two questions to me.
It does sound like two questions. Yeah, it's a good point. Someone should have stepped in and be like, that's your question's done.
Yeah.
But maybe they knew what his next question was. And they were like, oh, that's too good. We have to have him ask that one. We'll let him away with this. They say like, well, is Jessie the obvious answer? Like, they all voted that she's the most likable today. Mm-hmm. They write down Jessie. And they apparently write under the radar, because that's what Matthew reads out. And he has to burn the piece of paper, presumably next, he can't just keep it and then show everybody the next day. They're going to just have to rely on what... Jessie! So's a little bit... It's like when they did the Seer last series, and they have to burn the piece of paper that reveals their status, so the other players just have to trust what they've said. And then Matthew says, I'm taking a massive risk. I want to know there's some trust. I suspect Claudia will offer you the opportunity to seduce next time you meet, because a traitor's just been banished.
Right.
I want you to turn that down and murder Jessie. And the next time you do seduce, you can seduce me. My question is, do we have a deal? So this is really clever. He doesn't ask one simple question. He lays out a whole plan, and the question is, are you going to do that? Like, can we agree on that? So he's really taking the opportunity to make the most of it. And he's telling us, I came here to play a game. That's what I'm going to do. He says, I don't want Jessie. I like Jessie, but hey, if this helps me win, I'm going to do what I have to do.
Right. Yeah. I did not see this coming. Yeah. I actually think it's pretty smart. He's telling them he wants to be with them. And I mean, I don't remember this much gameplay coming out of him all season to this point.
No. I've seen him be very observant. There was that moment with Reese again where he spotted Reese say something that seemed to not make sense.
Yeah. So I didn't remember that was him. That was generic white guy. He obviously is quite clever and pays attention to things. And you said we've got listener questions asking us, spoiler for the next bonus episode, what might we have asked? And I was trying to think of things throughout this episode, but this was clever. I guess Matthew had had a few hours to go off and think about it. The traitors, they have to think about it. They write down their response. Of course, we don't see it. They fold the paper. They slip it through the booth. The end of the episode. David, I've got a few predictions to ask you about. Normally, it's just who's getting murdered, who's getting banished, but I predict there will be no murder.
Ooh, I predict there will be. Let's see if I'm right. What do you predict they wrote on the paper? Like, is it something positive or negative? Are they gonna say yes?
I think they'll say yes, and then I think they should actually do it. Well, no, I think they will actually do it. I don't necessarily think they should, because I think we've talked about this before. You've got two. You don't need a third. Keep murdering. So, I mean, they know that they can work well with each other. Why bring in another person? So I think they should say yes, murder Jessie, string him along, and then murder him.
Wow, that's brutal. I think they will also just say, deal, right? I mean, there's no point in saying no deal. Like,
right.
Just say yes, and then do whatever you want. You don't have to stick to it. Make Matthew think that he's got your trust and you've got this, even though he's no idea who's there. Yeah, you might as well say yes. Pretend that you've got
Right.
a deal. Any prediction? This is a very much broader prediction. What about Harriet? Any ideas? What might she ask?
I have
What
no
direction might
idea.
she go in? Is she going to do a
No clue.
Stephen and also come in and a Matthew and say, "I would like to be a traitor and I want to
No.
be
She is
recruited"?
she is very happy as the detective here, the lawyer,
Yeah.
the crime writer. She she's I don't even know. She's going to come up with some complicated crime writery thing of if you had a knife and you could only plunge it in one person, who would it be or something like that. Who knows? So yeah, I don't think I don't have a real good idea of what she would say.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure either. I'm sure she's clever. I'm sure she'll think of
Hmm.
something that may be useful
Right.
in some way. I don't think she'll ask like a totally. She's not going to ask, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
Is your name Rachel? So I'm sure she'll come up with something wordy and clever and
Yeah.
nuanced. There's no murder tonight, sadly. Next banishment. I've already given my prediction. I think Sam is going. Enough people
Yes.
have been on him. They're still on him. Maybe Fiona's vote will add to that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Harriet still has her eyes on Rachel, but I don't think she can get that kind of support. I think it'll be back on Mr. Arrogant, Sam.
Yeah, yeah, who voted most arrogant. That's not a good
Yeah.
look. Um, and I don't know if Jade maybe is. I'm trying to think of anyone else as a front runner. Has got heat. Okay, Jade, Amanda, all that could be Jade. I don't. I'm going Sam. We are not quite finished with episode 6 because we will be moving on to discuss your questions, observations, hot takes, and theories in our bonus Q&A episode right after this. And of course, David and I will be concluding the Trade Our Traitor to try and uncover what we both lied about in
And
this
we have
episode.
final thoughts still.
And final thoughts on this episode, yes.
Yeah.
Uh, David, well, do you have your final thoughts now, or are you saving them?
Oh no, now.
Go
Now.
for it.
Now. Right now. Right now. Um, so first, I'm not sure I've made this clear. Have I mentioned Fiona lost her damn mind? I want to make
Oh,
sure that I get that across.
I didn't
She
know you
blew
thought
up.
that.
Yeah, I know. I've been kind of subtle about it. She blew up her own game for no reason. And what at roundtable, she even said, "If I were a traitor, would I confront someone as quickly as I did? Not if you were a smart traitor, but again, you lost your damn mind." It's it. I mentioned this earlier. It's like she felt she was so used to working alone as the secret traitor that she didn't know how to work as part of a team. She assumed Rachel would be scheming even more than she was, but there was just no reason to leap to that conclusion. Take a breath. Wait to discuss it in the turret. You have this private place that you are going to go to. Find out what Rachel has to say because Rachel had very good reasons. Those reasons were working in the game in terms of getting people to look at Sam and Jade. But no, Fiona lost her damn mind.
Is that your one final thought? It's
Yes.
just yeah. I guess my final thought is that this episode, at the end of episode 5 and coming into this and seeing all the buzz online and people sending messages and so on, I thought it was going to be. I thought it was quite up in the air. It was clearly going to come down to Fiona versus Rachel. I thought there might have been more. Fiona might have had some followers. I thought some of the other players might have been
Yeah.
more suspicious of Rachel and thought, well, Fiona thinks she's lying. Is she lying? And questioned it a bit more. But it just completely went
It
against
was just,
Fiona. Like,
it was,
everybody just
yeah.
was like, this is really strange.
Yeah,
They
because it
they
made
all
no
just
sense. It made
yeah.
no sense to accuse her of that. There was no like I said, if Rachel had come under suspicion and said this, fine. But it was out of the blue for her to just accuse her of it. It made no sense. The story behind it was zilch. There was just nothing there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And our listener questions will provoke us to talk even more about this, I'm sure. For now, David, can you let us know where you are online and how we can find all the things that you are covering?
Yeah, I'm all over social media and reality TV podcasting, and right now, mostly here. I recorded 2 episodes of this podcast covering the Traitors US for the premiere and episodes 2 and 3. And there was a really great surprise guest on episode 1. Well, and on episode 2 and 3 also. And of course, that will continue for every episode going forward of the Traitors US as we will be covering it. And I will be back here for the 9th episode of the Traitors UK next week.
Yes.
Plus, I'm doing my TikTok and YouTube videos where I'm at David Bloomberg TV. And of course, right now, most of those videos are about either the Traitors UK or the Traitors US. The latter will include mini Why Blank Lost videos for each player who is murdered or banished. So I'll have several of those posted in coming days. Plus, I'll have a few videos for things like Beast Games and looking ahead to Survivor 50. And you can find all my accounts at Linktree/David Bloomberg.
Isn't it incredible that we're like series 4 of the Traitors? You're on season 50 of Survivor.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. Incredible. And we couldn't get past like 2 in the UK. Just didn't take. To make sure that you're up to date with the podcast and Traitors news and updates from around the world, occasionally a video from me or a secret mission even, you can follow on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube at the Traidar Podcast. And we have something to celebrate. David, I've achieved my mission. I wanted to try and get to 1,000 followers so that I could go live on Instagram once more.
You can go live.
I'm gonna go live! Hooray! Check out the Instagram story to know what the hell we're talking about. So thanks to everybody who's following. We're well beyond 1,000. I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna do a little Instagram live. Sunday evening UK time, like 6 p.m. I'll go on and just for fun have a little chat. Any questions that come in after the bonus episode that we didn't get to, maybe I'll talk about them on there. So thank you, everybody. You can send me your questions, comments on those places, and you can email me at thetradarpodcast@gmail.com or leave a voice note at memo.fm/thetradarpodcast. We have 2 or 3 voice notes actually in our bonus episode today. Wherever you're listening, as always, it's great if you can subscribe, follow, leave a star rating. Thank you to everybody who's been doing that this series. You can support the podcast in a couple of ways and help us keep it going. You could acquire some beautiful merch by visiting thetradar.redbubble.com. If you're not watching on YouTube, you don't know what I was pointing at right then. And finally, if you've been listening and enjoying, you could just visit the coffee.com page, chip in a little donation of your choosing. That's ko-fi.com/Matthew Keeley. We had an anonymous donation, so I can't thank them by name, but thank you, anonymous person. That was very kind of you. That just came in like yesterday or the day before, maybe.
Yeah.
Stay with us again. We've got a follow-up episode coming right after this, where David and I will address your questions and discussion points, as well as our Traitor reveal. Until then, laters, traders.
And stay traitorous.